All right, everybody. Welcome to your first video screencast lecture. We're going to try this out to see if this works okay. Basically, you are going to, as you listen to me talk and watch the slideshow, going to answer some questions on an attached Google form. So we're going to go over the basics of the geography of India in this lecture and just kind of talk about some of its features. All right. So the Indian subcontinent is a landmass that includes three main countries: India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And it's located in the southernmost tip of Asia. Okay. In the north there, where you see Nepal and that Himalayan mountain range, India is kind of isolated on its own. It's a subcontinent because it's its own kind of separate domain and area apart from the rest of the Asia. And the mountains help to keep India separate. Okay. All right. So the southern half of India is a peninsula. A peninsula is basically just a piece of land that sticks out and has three sides that are covered by water. So the southernmost tip is covered by water, the eastern side is covered by water, and the western side is covered by water. So that's how you define a peninsula. So India is surrounded by the Indian Ocean on the three sides. Okay. So there are three main distinct geographic regions to India. The first is the mountains in the north. These are the Himalayas that we talked about in our previous class. We have the Deccan Plateau, which is kind of that elevated region you see towards the southern end of India, where it kind of goes up into that browner point right there. This is a plateau is a higher elevated region that's flat land. It tends to be warmer as well. And then finally, you have the northern plains, which is an area that is a bit more tropical. Okay, as you can see right there, everything's labeled. The lowlands, those are the plains, a part of the plains. The Deccan Plateau you see is the kind of like triangular shape at the bottom there, and you can see the various mountains along the northern top. The mountains help to keep the climate tropical. They keep all the warmth and the rain trapped in that area. And also limited contact with other groups because these mountains protected the edges of India. Fewer people were able to access this area because the mountains kept them away. So a plateau is a raised flat area of land. It's kind of like a tabletop. It's taller than everything around it, and it's relatively flat. So this part of India is actually the drier part. It's where there's less rain and overall warmer. Next is the northern plains. So the three main rivers that we're going to learn about, the Indus, the Ganges, and I'm going to try my best, the Brahmaputra, all go through this part of India. You can see them in kind of like an up-down shape there, with the Indus on the most western side, the Brahmaputra on the other, and then the Ganges right there in the center. So these rivers brought silt, which is kind of wet soil. They brought this silt along the rivers, and what this did is it made the areas around the rivers really fertile for growing food and agriculture. And as a result, most of the civilizations that developed in India developed along here because they were able to grow things. So something that happens regularly in India, annually in fact, is monsoons. Monsoons are seasonal winds that carry either heavy rains and warm air or cool and dry air. So in the summer, you have a lot of heavy rains and warm air that are being pushed. And in the winter, you get the cooler, dry air. So basically, these are winds that push back and forth across the Indian subcontinent. You can see the red there are the summer monsoon wet winds that push in, and the blue one are the winter dry, cooler winds. Okay. There's another diagram to show you what the monsoon winds look like. So these monsoons brought rain. So in the summertime, they brought rain for crops. So the crops could grow. But it also, on a flip side, also led to flooding along the rivers. which can be a good and bad thing. It spread the silt around this nutritious soil, this wet soil, along the riverbanks to lead to more growing, but it also led to flooding, which could damage places where people lived. This is an example of what the flooding might look like. Pretty wild. So some of the environmental challenges of India include floods along the Indus River, which is in the northwestern part of India. And rainfall was also unpredictable. Even though there was monsoons, you couldn't always predict if rain was coming. And so there was the chance for droughts and other events that could potentially hurt Indian agriculture. So that's a basic overview of the climate as well as the various features of India.